Hi, I'm Mia from the 33rd Legislative District here in South King County. Super excited to talk about digital equity today. And House Bill 1723, it really establishes four main programs. One is the Washington Broadband Assistance Program. We also have the Anchor Institutions Equity Program. And then we have the old Community Technology Opportunity Program that we're renaming to a Digital Equity Opportunity Program. And the last is the Digital Equity Planning Grant Program. And really what these pillars do are ensure that folks have access to affordable broadband. We've expanded the definition of anchor institutions so that our community-based organizations, trusted partners, folks can really get access to grants to help deploy and get access to funds related to digital literacy, affordable devices, cost of internet. And then we also want to make sure that our local governments have planning grants so they can prepare. We have what we call broadband action teams and others. They sort of identify their digital ecosystem and then come up with decisions and problems. So we're super excited today to talk a little bit about what that bill will do. And with us, we have a couple of guests. So we have Kia Rain, and she's with the Sacred Community Connections today. And then we also have Jonathan Porter with the Black Brilliance Research Project. How are you doing today?
Thank you for that. I'm doing great today, and thanks again for this invitation. BBR is a Black Crew-led community research collaborative. We're dedicated to changing the lives of Black, Indigenous, and people of color within our community, and also kind of identifying and making sure that we serve all those people of different intersections, whether it's disability, immigration status, language, age, religion. We're all multifaceted people, and our communities are very multifaceted. So it's kind of looking at all those things and making that all those areas of the community that are underserved are no longer that. My kind of role within BBR is I'm the co-lead of the Digital Equity and Internet Equality team, and also one of our program managers of our Digital Stewards program.
I am the executive director of Sacred Community Connections. We are a by and for community-led organization. We service folks in the sex trade and street economy, folks who are without homes, folks who are substance dependent, and specifically Black, queer, and trans folks. We were able to participate in BBR, and we met so many wonderful partners. We're relatively new, and we're very happy because we are specifically made of the groups we service and the demographics that we service. And we think that's important because a lot of times there are these subgroups in subgroups in subgroups that only the group can get to. And what happens is a lot of times we get left out. Queer, Black, queer, and trans folks, especially disabled Black, queer, and trans folks, like I said, subgroup in a subgroup, we get left out a lot. So we are very, very happy to be able to be digital stewards for digital equity. And I'll talk more about why it's important to us, but making sure that folks have access is one thing. Making sure that folks who get forgotten and left out a lot have access is a whole nother beast. And we are so, so happy to be able to provide support for that.
Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about where you see folks in your community isolated and how some of these programs will really help to bridge that gap.
In Seattle, everybody thinks of Microsoft and Amazon, these big digital companies that have all the internet access and all the internet power. But if you're from here, you realize that that's not the case for everyone here. Internet is not equal. And so a lot of the things that this bill will help aid in is one, making sure everybody has the internet, and not just have internet, but having quality internet. People are trying to access doctors, trying to get vaccinations online. If you don't have internet, you don't have access to any of that type of stuff. And the other thing is, as a Black person, as a person with a disability, having muscular dystrophy, there's a lot of intersections that aren't served. And on top of that, us having these experiences, this bill will aid us within the community to continue to serve our own community. I think that's a key component in all the work that everybody does. It's one thing to have, outside forces to come in and help, but it's another thing to be a part of that community, to know and to have lived that, to be able to already know, identify what, problems need to be addressed, and then to say, okay, I've been there, I'm from there, I can fix that. And so being able to put the funds into the community to better the community so that the community can better itself is also a big kind of thing that jumps out to me that this bill is going to help with.
Kia, would you like to talk a little bit about the community and what you're seeing is unique and where the intersections are and how this bill must be helpful to them?
So a part of my experience, I was homeless out here. Okay, we no longer have anywhere to go. We're gonna have to look into shelters. Shelters end at a certain time. Where we're gonna be, we're just gonna be outside in the rain. We did not have phones with service. We couldn't look up jobs. We couldn't find other resources. We were really stuck. And then when we started meeting other people, they told us the secret. UW has internet all through the blocks, but you have to have an email address or something. You have to prove you're a student. Well, if you have an email address, you can connect multiple devices. So there was a student that had given us their email address. So that was like our little in. Like it was somebody I think worked at the shelter. Over 20 people who didn't have access to internet had access. And when I tell you it changed our lives, it drastically improved our quality of life. I just wanted everyone to be able to have the experience of just being able to connect to the internet, just knowing that you had a secure, stable, quality connection. So thinking that that reality in a more accessible way will be provided to folks who are in my experiences, folks who are further in the jungle, and folks who we really don't even get to converse with much because at this point they're so deep in the woods that you don't really even know how to get there. Sometimes you have to have somebody take you. The importance and the meaningfulness. There's no words to describe what this bill would bring to those lives and what that experience brought to mine. We were able to get jobs, we were able to get gigs, we were able to get our friends housing, all because somebody thought enough of us to say, you deserve this. So I almost get emotional because that's what we're doing. We're looking at future people and people who are in circumstances, people that look like us, people that don't, the amount of meaningfulness that comes from just little things like what we're talking about right now. It doesn't seem like that big of a thing, but we used to cry, just miserable, so unhappy, just because we felt like we were so separate from everybody else. Not having access does something different to you. It doesn't just take you over here and put them over there, but it disconnects everything. You can't talk to your friends, you can't talk to your family. God forbid you're just not able to afford service. It's so many things and so many lives will be touched and changed that we can't even fathom what we're talking about right now. Like it's just a conversation to us. We have no idea the impact that this is going to have on these people, on the system, on other systems. We're leading something that we have to really sit in, and we have to really think about those one-off situations and those the people like me who this will help, because it's not just me and it won't just be one person. It'll be countless lives that will be changed for this. So this bill, paper with words, no, this is somebody's dream, somebody's wish, somebody's prayer tonight. Right now, somebody's praying for what we're doing.
I'm glad that you're able to connect the two about the importance of internet and how it connects us to communities, it connects us to resources, and then how to ensure that we do it in a way that's not where you're worried whether it's going to be illegal or shameful to have to ask for that. And of course, the devices, ensuring that you have the right devices, and the literacy skills to keep you safe so that you don't accidentally fall victim. Jonathan, I'm guessing with the BBR, you got lots of information around the disparities and the importance and why right now we really need to ensure that as we recover, we know we're not recovering equally. There are communities that are being left behind, and why right now equity in this work needs to be front and center. Do you want to speak a little bit about what your thoughts are on that?
I'm 35, and technology is always one of those things where especially if you're old enough, it was kind of like an extra thing. Some people are into it, some people aren't. It's like, computers, oh, that might be a cool career path. It wasn't something that was a necessity over the past decade. And I think for a lot of people, especially during kind of this pandemic, it's been magnified even more that this isn't about getting on the internet to use YouTube. This isn't about getting on the internet to do Twitter or to play the newest mobile app game, Like, we're talking about lives, and we're not just talking about lives now. We're talking about lives tomorrow and into the future. I'm thinking of things such as the schooling. A lot of kids have had to do online schooling because of the current situation. There's one thing to just, sure, to be able to listen to the teacher, to hear the teacher, but what about when they have to do homework? What about when they have to study? It's about a kid being able to further their education, to be able to not end up in so many systems that a lot of people get locked up in. A lot of people end up in the juvenile justice system because they don't have internet access. That's just a reality. Think of all of the seniors and adults that are forced. You have to talk to your doctor through your computer. You have to get shopping and groceries through an app. It's not about an extra kind of luxury item that some people do and some people don't. There's so many numbers that have shown us that Black and brown people and people of color and people with disabilities and people of the LGBTQ community are already behind in so many ways that because we're already behind, there's already those disparities. The technology just kind of magnifies that, and having the lack of technology access just kind of makes those disparities even worse. Like, this is extremely important and extremely serious, this bill being passed and putting the funds into these communities and putting this technology into the communities and the devices in the communities. And if we continue to close the gap in, technology, it closes the gap in employment, it closes the gap in education, it closes the gap in digital literacy. This bill, it's necessary.
One of the things that I hear a lot, right, is that this bill is very expensive and we don't have enough resources. Well, you and I know that government's role is to invest in people. Do you have any parting comments about why the expense in human capital in our people in this effort is worth it now and not later?
I think a lot of times we get caught up in putting numbers on things and wanting to find the worth in it. And you really can't put a worth on a better quality of life. You can't put a dollar price on people having access. We're not talking about, like Jonathan said, luxury. This is just basics, people. We're talking about folks just being able to get their needs met. There are going to be some expenses as we continue to make changes to systems that have harmed people. But I'll tell you what, it costs a lot more to continue to create these disparities and these disconnections. Investing into people is priceless.
Well, in closing, I think what I heard from both of you today was pay now or pay later. Let's get this done. Let's invest in our people. Let's make sure that quality of life is really the lens that we use, and we ensure that those that are the farthest from access are the first in line. So thanks again for joining today, and I really look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon. Bye-bye.